Your boy, he ordered some grits online, so I got grits. Your boy got some grits. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to a new video. I hope you guys are enjoying my Vietnam vlog series. I have one more video to drop, which I'm going to be doing next week after this video comes out. But while I was here, I'm back here in Korea, and I was thinking, like, it's the beginning of the new year and schools are hiring and people are going to be interviewing for schools, looking at their options. They're probably getting ready to come to Korea. And, you know, you're trying to make a decision what school you should go to, what location. A lot of people, when they come into Korea, they always come in being a Kindy teacher. Some end up not liking it and they end up moving to an afternoon or an elementary school teacher. So in this video, I want to talk about the pros and cons of being a Kindy teacher and an afternoon teacher. So if you are in the interview process, you have an interview coming, or you and your recruiter are looking at specific schools, this video will help you decide if you want to go the afternoon route or if you want to go the morning route with the smaller children. Now let's go ahead and start with the list of pros. The main reason why we call it Kindy, well, the main reason why they call it Kindy is because you're going to be mostly teaching from ages 5 to 7. And in most Kindy schools, you are assigned one age group. You don't teach 5, 6, and 7. Usually you're a five-year-old teacher, 6-year-old teacher, 7-year-old teacher. Now I just want to remind you that it's going to be, I believe, called international age. Their real age is a year younger. So 4 years old, 5 years old, and 6 years old. I do think that's a pro because some people, they rather work with younger children, but when we get into the cons, you may end up questioning if you want to work with the younger kids. Another pro is you get off work between 3 to 6, depending on the school you choose. If you want to get off around 3, you probably should search for schools that may start between like 7 and 8. That way you can get that 3 to 4, maybe 4:30 off work period. But generally most schools stop between 5:30 and 6, and they start around 9. So if you're someone who likes to work in the morning and have your nights to yourself, there you go. That's a pro for you. The next pro I would say is structured vacation. Now, typically your first year working in Korea as a teacher, you get 11 paid vacation days. For Kindy, from my experience, most Kindy schools, they'll choose your vacation for you, which is 1 week off at the end of July, and then you get another week off at the end of December. So you get a full week off in both those weeks. And I know that's really 5 days, and they say 11 days. Yeah, I don't know about that, but you also get all the federal holidays off. Another bonus is having an assistant in class. This is, you know, what you hear me say, KT. You'll have a Korean teacher in class when you teach in the morning time, when you teach the Kindy kids. So you will have someone in class to assist you with like translation, possibly behavior. Just gonna leave that there. Any type of accidents that the kid have, maybe they use the bathroom on themselves. That is the Korean teacher's job to deal with. Also talking with the parents. So you do have in-class assistants. Also, I will say free lunch. It's kind of debatable. I did work at one school where they would actually charge you like once a month. It was like 75,000 won. Maybe that's like 55 bucks. They would take that out of your pay if you decide to eat the school lunch. But most of the schools, that was only one school I worked at that did that. But most of the schools, nope, a lot, 2 schools. 2 schools. Yeah, 2 of the Kindy schools that I work at actually charged you for the lunch. But most schools, I'll say, from like people that I know, it's free. So you will get to eat the lunch that's provided, or you can pay, or it's free to eat the lunch that is provided at the school. I would say this is a bonus, but you get more exposure with Koreans versus teaching in the after school. I mean, the after school, yeah, there are Koreans that are there, but there are way more Koreans in the Kindy schools because you have all the KTs, you have the staff, you have so many people that help out with running the school and also deal with the parents. So if you want to practice your Korean, you want to, build a relationship with Koreans, or maybe that's the start of building your relationship with Koreans. You are more exposed to Koreans in that way, and also foreigners too. To me, I really do think you meet more foreigners in working for a Kindy school than an afternoon school. Yeah, I don't know how well it would go, but one of the best things I would say working in the Kindy school are the field trips. There are, at least every school I worked at, we've had at least 4 to 5 field trips every single year. So there are days where you're not teaching, you get to go to a blueberry farm, a strawberry farm. You'll go to a park, usually for Kids Day, and there are like these obstacle courses. One of the schools that I worked at, they had like I'm gonna say like a splash party, like a pool party, and it wasn't like little kiddie pools. They rented out this huge like water slide. And when I say huge, I'm talking it was maybe like 20, 30 feet in the air. And it was like this huge water slide. And the kids slid down into this pool that was maybe like 2 feet deep. And it was a huge pool. Like, I'm not talking your backyard pool. No, I'm talking like it was a huge pool. And they also had like a bubble system too, where they were like, it was pumping out so many bubbles at one time. So there are these special occasions of field trips that you will definitely have working in a Kindy school that you will not have working in an afternoon school. Okay, cons working inside of a Kindy school. First con, I'm gonna say a high opportunity of low pay. If it is your first year coming into Korea, a school will be bold enough to offer you between 2.1 to 2.3. And I'm going to tell you this right now, for all the work that you're about to do, everything that you're about to encounter, that is way too low for this job. Way too low. Way too low. I don't know off the top of my head what the minimum wage is here in Korea, but I'm going to give you the minimum wage on the bottom of the screen for 2.1 to 2.3. Way too low for what you are about to encounter, everything you're about to deal with. Even if you're not about to deal with anything like terrible kids, the immature behavior by the foreigners, or even yourself, because you could be toxic as well. I think we all gotta have like some toxic traits. Even that, it's just way too low. Oh, what I was gonna say, the amount of teaching you're about to do and your expectations, it's way too low. Way too low. Way too low. Especially how much these kids pay to go to these schools. Just know, 2.1 to 2.3, way too low. If you don't have any experience, when you first come in, that's your minimum. The minimum you better ask for it. I don't even like saying 2.3. I would rather say 2.4 at least. A lot of people in those Facebook groups, they would say 2.5. But look, all I'm gonna say is it's way too low, and these schools will offer you that low pay. Another con I would say is you have no time for breakfast. Like, a lot of teachers I know on the weekends, they love to go out for like brunch because they don't get a chance to eat breakfast, a proper breakfast. And for those who thinking like, oh, Americans usually eat like cereal and sugary pancakes. No, actually, a lot of us like to eat like scrambled eggs or fried eggs, a little bacon, a fruit salad on the side. I love me some grits. Actually, y'all, your boy, he ordered some grits online, so I got grits. Your boy got some grits. You know what I'm saying? Your boy working the afternoons. I can go to the morning, go to the gym, come back, make some grits, regular butter and cheese grits. And now I've never been a big fan of cheese grits, but I like them. I eat them with a little pepper and sriracha. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. But they definitely be good. They be good. But you know what I'm saying? Like, hot cereal, porridge. Everyone that teaches here isn't just, American. You have South Africans, you have Europeans, maybe they want, sorry, beans and toast or, blood sausage, whatever it is, Some people want to eat that breakfast, and working in Kindy, you don't have time for breakfast. You really don't. Now, this one right here, I know 100% everyone can agree on. If you get sick and you work at a Kindy, Unless you can find a doctor's office that's open until 6, and sometimes if you work until 6, you can't even go to the doctor. You got to go to the ER, which is very cheap, very cheap. But who wants to do all that when you can just go to an internal medicine place, be in and out in 20, 25 minutes? Anyway, doctor's visit, dentist's visit. Maybe you're sick and you just need to go. It is very hard to get to those places when you work at a kindy school because you're working most of the time between 9 to 6 or maybe 9 to 5. You have to rush there to be seen because most of these doctor's office, these health professions, they only run between 9 to 6, and you can't really go on your lunch break because a lot of them also close around the same time you're eating lunch. So it's kind of hard to see a doctor, a dentist, an ophthalmologist. Well, actually, no, those eye doctor places, they everywhere. Like, you can go to one of those any time of day. These kindy schools, they are not gonna let you off to go. If you're sick, they be like, it's kind of like a little gaslit. I didn't gaslit. They just try to play in your face. They're like, well, if you're not here, we really need you, and the kids will suffer. They try to make you feel bad from wanting to go. A lot of them, or they just flat out tell you, no, you can't go. Yeah, doctor and dentist, that's what you probably will need the most. It's very hard. So you got to use your weekend time to go and, go to the doctor's office, go to the dentist. Or maybe, you lose your passport and you need to go to not immigration, the place, U.S., the embassy. Maybe you need to go to an embassy. You just can't go because you work during the hours that they're open and your school is not going to give you off to go. So that's another huge negative for, working at a kindy school. Miscommunication. 100% of the time, okay, 100%. There's always some kind of miscommunication when you work at a kindy school. I don't know. To me, a lot of the Koreans that I worked with in the afternoon had a bigger grasp on the English language versus a kindy. And there were actually more males that actually work at these Hagwons in the afternoon. A lot more males because the kids are older. But they had a bigger grasp on speaking English, and it's such a relief. Like, there aren't as many miscommunications that you're gonna run into in the afternoon versus you working at a kindy. There's always just some type of like miscommunication, and not just for me. I'm just working in the kindy environment. There are so many teachers that I've just watched. I don't even know the whole scenario, but they're explaining it, and it's just like, oh, everything is kind of blamed on there's a miscommunication. And most of the time, mind you, you are the teacher in this classroom. You're the number one teacher, and it's always put like you're the one that miscommunicated something, which is crazy. It's crazy work. It's crazy work. These things happen, and when you're working in a kindy environment, 100%, even if it doesn't happen to you, you're going to be around multiple people, and the excuse is always going to be there's a miscommunication. That issue is so, I'm not going to say rare, it's just uncommon in an afternoon setting. Really is. Another one is, if you think that you're just working with kindy kids, working at the morning school, that's not all the way true. Yeah, they're from international age 5 to 7, but usually around like 1:30 to 2 o'clock, you get older kids that'll come in for the last 3 to 4 hours of your shift. And they're usually started age around like 9, and they go up to maybe like 12 or 13. Maybe 1 year down, maybe like 8. I'm gonna open the range up. I'll say like 8 to like 11, 8 to 12. I'll say 8 to 12. Again, if you're working kindy, you're not just teaching kindy, you're gonna be teaching afternoon kids as well. Another one is just being too tired to do anything after work. A lot of teachers that work the morning shift, they want to go to the gym or they want to enjoy their night, but they're just too exhausted after working with, kindy kids, very young kids, and then elementary school kids. All of them are young. They're too tired to really interact after work. Maybe they will go for a drink after work, but other than that, most of them just want to go home, watch movies, play the video game, or just be a homebody. Now, you're going to be on the E2 visa. If you're on an F visa or something else, perfectly fine. But if you're on an E2 visa, that's like conversational English teaching, and that's it. A lot of these schools, they'll have you teaching science and math. Excuse me, science, math, and art, or a combination of the two. And we're not supposed to do that, so don't be surprised if you're doing a science project. Maintaining high energy. If you're someone who has like a battery that is easily depleted, you're probably going to run into that other con that I just said about being like just too tired to do anything after work. Because when you teach the very young kids, 5, 6, and 7, it's expected to have like energy for them to feed off of and really like you as a teacher and enjoy their time being there. If you're someone low energy, you're probably gonna get some complaints. The kids are probably gonna say you're boring. They can get parent complaints, and then you probably won't be at that school much too longer, or you'll finish your contract and they won't offer you another one. And the last one, which I think maybe I should have said this after the pay, the helicopter parents. You're going to run into them for sure working with Kindy kids. I feel like in the afternoon, it's actually a little bit more relaxed. And this is my assumption here. A lot of the parents, no matter how rich they are, to me, all of them do not speak English fluently. So the little English they know, they can actually understand with their smaller kids. Yeah, some of these parents, they will hound you like, oh, you missed this error. Why isn't this page done? My kid could have wrote it better this way. It's on another level. On another level. It doesn't matter what area of Korea you're in, you will run into a helicopter parent at these Kindy schools. All right, so finally, let's start with the afternoon kids, which honestly is my favorite. I like working in the afternoon. I am never, ever going back to Kindy. And you're probably going to think I have my biases. No, because I do have a list of cons here. I don't have that many as working in Kindy, only because you'll understand it more once I get into the explanation of everything. So first, we're going to go with the pros. More time for errands in the morning. I work at 2. Sometimes I can come in later as well and literally work for like 3 or 4 hours. I love that. But anyway, I work at 2. And if you work at 2 or at 1, some places you work as late. You can come in at 3. If you don't work until that time, you can go to the doctors, the dentist, the eye doctor. You can go to the gym. You can, as you can see, I hang out with some of my friends who are Korean. We sometimes get lunch together. You watch your TV shows. You can talk to your friends. There's just so much you can do. You can go out for breakfast. I can go out for breakfast if I want to. I can make my breakfast here at home and just relax before work. So that I really do love. Higher pay, okay? Higher pay. There's no really order of like most wanted to least wanted. I'm just throwing them out here. All right. Higher pay. These afternoon schools, a lot of them will start you off at 2.7, which is much higher than the Kindy schools. You definitely get more money working at the afternoon school. 2.7, you're getting paid more than the average teacher. To me, the average teacher gets around like 2.5. 2.4, somewhere around that. And mind you, every single year, you only get like a 100,000 added to your paychecks. Working in the afternoon, you get more money. You are the only teacher in the room. Teaching in the afternoon, there are no KTs. That I like. So you're more in control of your own classroom. You don't have to worry about miscommunications a lot. So that aspect I do like. Also, I think when you work with afternoon kids, you can have a moderate amount of energy. You don't need to be super high energy. Most of the kids are like, they're a little exhausted, depending on the time. They're a little exhausted. So if you give them some energy, they'll definitely give you a little energy back. So it's a good exchange of energy. You don't have to always be so high energy all the time. And I like that. What I think is very important that I love, you get to pick your own vacation days. So as I said in Korea, your first year, you get 11 days. Let's say you're in your second year and you're working at afternoon Hagwon, you get bumped up from 11 to 15 days of vacation time. You still get those red days as well, right? You still get to have those specific days off because they're federal holidays. Now, the great thing about choosing your own vacation is that you don't have to go during prime season. And prime vacation season, it's always sometime in the summer and at the end of the year. You could take a vacation in November if you want to go home. Maybe flights are cheaper for you to go home, or they're cheaper for you at the end of January. You are in control of your own vacation time. And maybe you don't want to take a whole vacation throughout the year. You want to save it up for those 2 weeks. You can do that. A lot of the schools I've seen, a lot of schools I've actually worked at, if you want to take a 2-week vacation because you have those 10 days, you can take a 2-week vacation versus working in the morning time with the Kindy kids. You do not have that option at all. So I'm going to be taking vacations a little differently because I still want to go to Europe. I love Asia. I really do. But I want to go to Europe too. I want to see what Europe is like, possibly go back to America. I just want to see different parts of the world. I love Asia. I still haven't gone to Singapore. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going next, but I'm going to a new country this summer. Yeah, there are places I want to go, and it's best to go when it's not that same end of the last week of July or the last week of December. So you have that flexibility. Last section, cons for working in the afternoon. The first con I would say is like you have the possibility of throwing your sleep off. So some teachers that work in the afternoon, maybe they're working like my schedule, my contract schedule is 2:20 to 9. I don't actually, only 2 days a week, I actually work that actual schedule. The other days I get off pretty early, a lot of times. There's one day I work like 3 hours and I get to go home after that. I think maybe 4 hours and I get to go home after that. And I'm talking about as early as like 6:20-ish. Yeah, like 6:20-ish and I get to. So some people, let's say they work that schedule, they'll come home, maybe watch a movie, maybe play their game, be on their laptop or whatever, and they're on those systems or whatever their vices are until 3 in the morning. Then they'll go to sleep from 3 to like 11, and then they'll have 3 hours in their day to like run an errand, make breakfast or whatever. So it's kind of like, because their sleep is so thrown off, because whatever they're doing at night, they are not taking advantage of all the time that they have. Now, someone like me, no matter what, as you guys see my schedule in the day in life video, I always wake up at 8:30, 8:45-ish. And I take advantage of my day. I enjoy it. I'm someone who does not like to sleep in. I hate to sleep my morning away, even on the weekend. You can work the afternoon schedule and say, hey, look, I'm gonna go to bed by 12, wake up by 8:30. You get 8.5 hours of sleep, you know? Or just set an alarm where you get up at 9, you know? But yeah, that's a con. That's a con for some people, not all. I guess I can say long hours. Some people make it seem like it's long when it really isn't. If you think about it, working 9 to 6 that's 9 hours out of your day. Most of the afternoon schools, now I ain't gonna lie, there's a few that'll be like, oh, we need you to come in from 1 to 10. I would never choose that school. I would never do that. Never. The only schools I will do 1 to 9, 2 to 9. Yeah, I would say don't choose that. Don't do that to yourself. At the latest, get off at 9. If you're someone who maybe doesn't like to read or you don't like grading, I will say with a lot of the afternoon schools, you will be grading essays. So look out for that. Ask about that within your interview. Will you be grading essays? You know, a paragraph you will always have to grade, working in Kindy or afternoon. But if you're grading an essay that's like one page long, I would ask about that in an interview just to give you a heads up. So I would say that's a con because, again, in Kindy, you're not really doing that. Some people don't like grading. Some people don't like reading essays. Reading novels. Now, there's a possibility you'll have to read a novel or two. I don't read novels. I will listen to the novel. I know teachers that they did not read the novels. They just use ChatGPT or they use one of those websites where they summarize the book. Some schools will offer a summary as well, take the important characters, all the important details. So that's a possibility as well. I'm gonna be telling you, in my old schools, I didn't read all the novels. I ain't got time for all of that. You know, I'm teaching 5 different classes, 5 different novels. What does this look like? Nah. The next one, I guess you can't really make dinner plans. If you chose one of those schools where you get off at, you know, you may get off at 9 or 8 or 10. Maybe you just really don't want to make dinner plans. I'm not going to say you don't have time to eat dinner because at school, because at both of the afternoon schools, how many afternoon schools I worked at? Just one? Well, this one now, and the last one I worked at, I had a chance to actually eat dinner. So I'm not going to really say that's not possible, but you can. I mean, if you want to make dinner plans with like friends or family, if your family's coming during the weekday, you can't really make dinner plans during the weekday. I'll say that. And I guess this is a con, but I put it on here because everyone may not like it. That's why I didn't want to be too impartial. But I will say odd vacation time. For some people, maybe they like to have the school choose when their vacation is. I do not. But maybe it works out. It doesn't work, for some people, for them to choose their own vacation. And maybe it's just a hassle for them to just ask the boss, or whatever, put the request in via email. I know a lot of people like that. They are scared to really like put the request in for the vacation, which I do not understand that. But, I don't know. I'm not one of those people. All right, that's it. Those are the pros and cons for working in a kindy versus working in a afternoon. I try not to be too impartial. As I've said early in the video, I like working the afternoon so much better than working in kindy, but I wanted my best to, expose as much knowledge as I knew as far as pros and cons for both sides. Because there are some things I do like about working in kindy. They really are. Those field trips, having the planned vacation, and I think that's about it. I think that's about it. I like some of the little children, but I actually prefer to just work afternoon. It's so much more relaxed, stress-free. There are less worries. So if you ask me, yes, I am someone who will always work afternoon, not going back to kindy. Never, ever, ever going back to kindy. But I hope my list really did help you. If you're looking for a job right now, if you're in the interview process and you only thought, hey, I just want to work in the morning, go, look, seek out those afternoon schools because it actually could help you. There was someone who actually put in a comment on my day in the life video who said, I did work kindy before. They worked kindy before and then they started working afternoon. It was like they would never go back. So I'm not the only person. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe if this is your first time seeing me on your screen. If this is not your first time and you haven't subscribed, why haven't you subscribed yet? I'm giving you all the information about teaching in Korea, life in Korea. It is cold as ever in Korea, but we will be having I will be doing some outside vlogs in Korea very, very soon. I will see you guys next week in a new video.